Jake Paul, I mean, as of right now, for what he's doing, it's good for what he's doing. But once he fights a real fighter, it's going to be bad.
If that fight ends up being close,
yes,
a lot of people are going to watch that fight, right?
A lot, because I think a lot of people are going to want to see Jake Paul lose, and
100%.
Floyd Mayweather has slammed the idea of Jake Paul fighting Canelo Alvarez, saying Jake would get demolished. Mayweather claimed Jake looks good against YouTubers and non-boxers, but would struggle against real fighters. He believes once Jake steps into the ring with an elite boxer like Canelo, it's game over.
Have you been impressed?
But one thing I like about him, one thing I do like about him, he's selling it. He's selling it, and he's making good money, and he's entertaining. I like it.
Is he, and Floyd, there are many people who believe you're the most talented fighter ever, period. So whatever you say to this question, I think is important. Are you impressed? Does he have boxing ability, or is he just an entertainer who has a lot of fans and can promote a fight and has fought lesser opponents? Or is he actually talented?
As long as he continues to fight MMA guys and YouTubers, he's gonna continue to look good and shine. But once he fights a real fighter that can really fight, it's not gonna be that good.
Does he have the ability, with what you've seen, to continue to mold himself into somebody who can actually? He told me before his goal is to fight Canelo, so that's where his mindset's at.
It get fucked up by Canelo. Oh, I'm sorry, it's TMZ.
You can curse.
I apologize, but
no apologize about it.
There's no way he get demolished. But for what he's doing, as long as they keep getting YouTubers and keep putting them in there with MMA guys.
Canelo Alvarez is known for being one of the smartest businessmen in boxing. He doesn't just take fights based on competition. He takes fights that generate massive paydays. That's why Jake Paul believes that Canelo will eventually fight him. Jake has consistently branded himself as the biggest entertainer in boxing, stating that people love watching him, whether they want to see him win or get knocked out. He believes that his ability to generate pay-per-view sales is the reason fighters like Canelo will eventually have to fight him. Jake argues that a bout between him and Canelo would be a financial success, bringing in millions of dollars for both sides.
I think it's very, very realistic. And people may think that sounds crazy, but Canelo is a smart businessman, and at the end of the day, he wants to do big fights and make, entertainment, make huge entertainment products. And my skill set is improving every single day. And that's what doing fights like this are about, taking on real professional fighters so that eventually I could take on tougher fighters. And I see Canelo versus Jake Paul happening in the next 24 months. It just makes so much sense. And also people forget that, I'm 200 pounds. I have a size advantage. All of these things that start to add up, which make it such an interesting fight that I fully believe I'll win. There's the KSIs, the Tommy Furies, the Nate Diaz MMA fight, but I don't know if these guys actually want to put it on the line. We've tried to make a Floyd fight happen. Floyd's ducked it. So I don't know if these guys really want to take a risk.
Jeff Mayweather, another respected voice in boxing, completely dismissed the idea of Jake Paul fighting Canelo Alvarez. He stated that nobody in the sport would take this matchup seriously because it's simply unrealistic. Jeff went as far as to joke that Jake Paul might as well say he wants to fight Muhammad Ali. In his opinion, Jake is living in a fantasy world, constantly calling out top-level boxers without proving himself against real competition. Jeff believes that Canelo would never accept this fight because it wouldn't be competitive at all.
All right, here with Jeff Mayweather. Jeff, appreciate taking the time. Unfortunately, the Hasim Rahman Jr. Jake Paul fight has been canceled. Jake said something very interesting, though. He said that the big fight out there right now is Canelo. And he said, hey, Canelo can be beat. Bivol gave the blueprint, and I'm just like Bivol. I have the same powers, similar attributes, speed, elusiveness. All he's basically I don't want to say carbon copy, but he's very similar to Bivol. So he would match up favorably with Canelo. Hard to argue. He's undefeated so far, and boxers are ducking him. What do you think?
Well, maybe. Why don't he just fight Bivol then? Canelo's already fight somebody. But Triple G.
But Canelo's the money, right?
Not anymore.
He's more money than Bivol.
He's probably more money than Bivol.
Especially if he beats Triple G.
Yeah, I mean, he's still probably more money than him. But I mean, the thing is that I mean, nobody's even gonna take that serious. I mean, you can say all you want to. I mean, you can say you can fight Muhammad Ali. You can say you can fight whoever. I mean, ain't nobody taking that serious.
But why not Canelo? So Canelo wants money fights. Jake is, you know, it's pretty undeniable. He's the hottest prospect in boxing right now. He's undefeated. He's also one of the biggest draws in boxing. So why would that not be a fight to make? Or do you think that's something Canelo figures that's, you know, it would look bad if he didn't come through positively in that fight?
I think that it's a fight that Jake is just yelling just to make himself look like he's legitimate. But, of course, he has a coach that would never let him fight Canelo.
You wouldn't favor him in that fight against Canelo?
Hosts discussed the topic on Ariel Helwani's podcast, reinforcing that Jake Paul versus Canelo Alvarez is not happening. They bluntly stated that there is no world where this fight can take place. It's not just unlikely, it's impossible.
YouTube influencer versus pound for pound great being the hang up in the fight, being the one that stops the momentum. Because it's not happening. There is no world.
Okay, then let me ask you
this. May I be
this.
struck by lightning right now if this is possible?
Wow, a lightning bet from...
If this happens,
Right.
if this happens.
There's just no way. There is no way.
Wait. If what happens? If the fight happens or if the upset of
if
the
Jake
century
Paul,
happens?
If Jake Paul derails Terrence Crawford versus Canelo by
All credit to him.
beating Canelo,
then you book
there's
Jake
no
Paul
chance.
versus Terrence Crawford.
Zero.
Okay, let me ask you this. If that fight ends up being close,
yes.
a lot of
It
people
won't.
are going to watch that fight, right?
A lot,
Yes.
because I think a lot of people are going to want to see Jake Paul lose and
100%.
Let
Canelo's going to
Alvarez
do
is
this.
gonna be like a
Canelo
minus 2,000
would
favorite.
do this. And we're just talking.
Let's backtrack to your first question, which is interest. I'm very interested because, as I've long said, I'm on this corner. I only care about Jake Paul in spectacles. It would be an absolute spectacle to see a pound for pound. First, he did Mike Tyson, which, and I'm not going all the way back, but I'm saying in his most recent outing, Mike Tyson, an all-time legend, a pop culture icon, versus Jake Paul is a spectacle. Now you're going the opposite direction to nearly in his prime. We'll say maybe like he's on the back nine, but he's still close to his prime. He's still a top 5 pound for pound on pretty much anybody's list fighter. Going against Jake Paul, I'm in for the spectacle. I'm in. I don't think Jake Paul has a chance in hell, but I'm in for the spectacle.
And how long has he been beating the drum on this? He's been saying he's going to do this forever.
That he's
Listen,
gonna fight
let's see
Canelo.
what
So
happens.
like credit to him if it happens.
They believe Jake is living in a fantasy if he thinks he can step into the ring with Canelo. Former world champion Carl Froch also weighed in on the discussion, warning that if this fight actually happens, things will get messy. Froch has been a vocal critic of Jake Paul's boxing career, and he strongly believes that Jake is not skilled enough to share a ring with someone like Canelo. Froch stated that Jake would get completely outclassed and potentially hurt. He emphasized that Canelo is a ruthless fighter who doesn't take it easy on his opponents. If Jake gets in the ring with Canelo, he won't just lose, he will get seriously exposed.
He's mentioned me before, and there'll be people out there saying, oh, Carl Froch's talking about himself, he's after a payday. Listen, I'm not after a payday. I'm doing all right. There's no problems with my finances. But I'll take the fucking payday, of course I will. And I'll end Jake Paul with one punch. I'd go in there one-armed and beat this guy. He can't box. He's absolutely fucking useless, which we saw last night with Mike Tyson. Talking about Canelo Alvarez. I've not mentioned Canelo Alvarez because it's just laughable. Jake Paul, Canelo Alvarez. Can you imagine? I mean, if Jake Paul fancies that and he jumps in the ring with him, I will pay homage to him because fair play. If he jumps in there with Canelo Alvarez, he'll get absolutely fucking destroyed and it will be fast and it will be messy and it will be bad for his health as well, potentially.
Despite the overwhelming doubt from boxing analysts, Jake Paul's trainer has hinted that an official announcement regarding Jake versus Canelo is coming real soon. This statement has fueled speculation that the fight may actually happen, even though most people believe it would be a mismatch. Some fans think Jake is bluffing to generate media attention, while others believe there may be some truth to the rumors. Either way, his trainer's comments have added fuel to the fire.
Jake Paul could be fighting next.
I can't give you the insight. I can't give you the insight. Just know that announcement coming real soon. Real soon.
Let me ask you a question then. Obviously, you're not going to tell me.
Okay.
You keep moving. Come here.
All right, my bad. Yeah.
If Jake Paul versus Canelo Alvarez is expected to happen in May, then Jake simply will not have enough time to prepare. Boxing experts have pointed out that Jake needs months of preparation just to get into the proper weight class and condition himself for a fight against someone like Canelo. Given the timeline, it seems highly unlikely that Jake will be ready to face a fighter of Canelo's level by May. Even if the fight were scheduled later in the year, many believe Jake wouldn't be able to close the massive skill gap between him and Canelo, regardless of how much time he has to train.
You said that you'd like to go up against Canelo Alvarez. What gives you the right to call out a 59-2 boxer, one of the greatest of all time, when you've not yet proven yourself?
I'm predicting what's going to happen 3 more years from now.
So I'm
going to get to his skill level and beat him. I have one of the greatest self-belief systems in the world, and I know what I'm capable of. And with this new team, I can give Canelo a serious run for his money.
Would you ever do like exhibitions like that, or like people like Jake Paul call you out, or these like other big stars? Like, is that business-wise like even worth it?
When I'm done with boxing, why not? Maybe I'll do it. I think it's
like when you're done like competing at the highest level, you're saying?
Yeah, I think it's good because what happened there is other people who never watch boxing, or they don't know anything about boxing, they want to watch Jake Paul because he's coming from he bring fans from other world, right? Yeah. That's good because everybody enjoy it.
Would you ever entertain that idea when you're done?
Maybe.
Most boxing analysts agree that if this fight happens, it won't last very long. Many believe that Canelo would knock Jake out in the first round. Jake is trying to step into the ring with one of the greatest boxers in the sport, and the consensus is that he simply isn't ready for that kind of challenge. If the fight does happen, fans should not expect it to go past the opening rounds.
Do you have a call out in mind? Or are you kind of just going to see where it takes?
No, I mean, I do. It's Canelo. This moment will prove that I'm the face of boxing, the largest attraction. Me versus Canelo at 200 pounds for the cruiserweight championship is the biggest fight, arguably even bigger than me versus Tyson, and it makes so much sense. And, you know, Canelo's on his way out. He's going to want a payday, and I want to show the world that all the shit I've been talking about beating Canelo is actually true, and I'll have the biggest upset in the sport of boxing, and we will fight to really see who is the face. After this event, I'm going to be claiming it. I beat his gate record. I'm beating the ticket sales, all of that stuff. So I'm going to be the new money man.
Joe Rogan has spoken highly of Canelo Alvarez, particularly praising his punching power and defensive awareness. Rogan has repeatedly stated that Canelo is one of the most dangerous fighters in the world, emphasizing how he controls every aspect of a fight. Rogan has pointed out that Canelo's precision, footwork, and counter-punching ability make him a nightmare for anyone, let alone someone like Jake Paul, who has limited experience. If Joe Rogan, a respected analyst in combat sports, believes that Canelo is on another level, it only further proves that Jake Paul has no business sharing a ring with him.
This is very fucking dangerous. Very dangerous.
And there's always somebody coming, right behind you. And these guys who've been at the top so long, you're like, all right, let me get somebody that's on my level. Canelo, he's been in the game just as long as me, and all right, let's just do this for his paycheck and then move on.
I think when they get to a certain level and they realize they only have a few fights left, they want the big money fights. And Canelo is obviously the biggest money fight. Even though Boots Ennis is a great fighter, most people don't know who he is yet.
Yeah.
And with Canelo, everybody knows who Canelo is. If you get the Canelo fight, that's red panties night. If Jake Paul wasn't Jake Paul, if he wasn't this YouTube guy, he was just a boxer, and you see a boxer knock out the former UFC welterweight champion, not just the former, but one of the best ever, knock him out with one punch like that, like, oh man, have you seen this Jake Paul dude coming up? He's fucking for real. Because nothing about watching him fight, to me, screams like he's in over his head. Nothing. He looks like a real boxer.
Even though most boxing experts have laughed off the idea of Jake versus Canelo, the fact that there is even a slight chance of this fight happening has left many fans shocked. Jake has spent years making bold claims about Canelo, saying that Canelo needs him for a big payday. Now that rumors are circulating about a potential fight, people are wondering whether it could actually happen. Regardless of whether the fight takes place, Jake has successfully created hype around the possibility, which is exactly what he does best.
Champion. And then for your girlfriend, Yuta, to win Olympic gold.
Yeah, we just have all the belts.
That's insane.
In the world.
That's crazy.
And then we should just retire after that.
So look, are you happy with your performance in the fight? Are you happy with the way the night went down?
I wish he would have, put up
a better fight, so then I could have like risen more and done more. And like he was surviving. He was. So
before you went out,
it's worked up. But I think that everybody just wants him to win, wanted Mike to win. But
dude, people really don't like us, Jake. People really want to see you get knocked out.
Yeah, what did I ever do to anyone?
Well, you climbed on top of the KTLA news van.
Hilarious.
You wasted the government's money.
How?
Because the FBI had to raid your house.
They wasted their own money. They wasted their own money. Like, why would they do that? I didn't. And then, like, nothing ever came from it. They didn't even know what they were doing there.
Jake Paul has always been vocal about his thoughts on Canelo Alvarez. In previous interviews, Jake has claimed that Canelo is ducking him, and that Canelo is afraid of fighting him because Jake brings more attention to boxing. While most boxing experts find these claims ridiculous, Jake continues to push the narrative that Canelo needs him more than he needs Canelo. Whether he genuinely believes this or is simply hyping himself up, it's clear that Jake Paul is doing everything he can to keep his name linked to Canelo Alvarez.
You really, really need to stop. I hope you don't think that you're ready for some guy like Canelo Alvarez, though. You ain't that crazy, are you?
I am beyond
Please don't
ready.
tell me that.
I am beyond ready. In all fucking seriousness, I beat Canelo
God,
Alvarez.
Stephen A., you're just not happy with anything. First, you're like getting there with a real opponent, and then you're like, oh, you don't think you're not ready for Canelo? You're not that crazy. Well, make up your mind.
Hold on, excuse me. What is your name again?
My name is Julia.
Julia.
Yes.
Okay, I appreciate your passion. Thank you very much, but I have to say this to you. There is a middle ground. I mean, you can't sit up there and say I'm not happy with anything because I'm saying get in with a real boxer. But in the same breath, I'm like, you ain't ready for a world champion. But I mean, that's not an insult. I'm not insulting you. I'm not saying you'll never be ready for him. But you don't go from fighting UFC fighters to Canelo Alvarez.
But I'm beating world champions in sparring.
Okay, I didn't know that.
That's what I'm saying. And so, but this is what they say, fight a real boxer. And then I'm like, all right, give me Canelo. And then they're like, you're crazy, shut the up. So it's kind of like, what do I do? What do I do?
You fight someone lower than Canelo. Canelo's crazy.
But the thing is Canelo is old. Canelo is looking like he could barely beat Triple G, who's
TalkSport hosts have weighed in on the possibility of Jake Paul fighting Canelo Alvarez, calling the entire idea a joke.
Paul, let's have it right, guys. You're talking about Jake Paul calling out granddads in Mike Tyson, and that fight, you look at that where Mike Tyson could barely walk up the steps at the time, and it became evident when we was out there.
You were bloody championing it.
Yeah, that's before I got out there, Simon, and saw the state of Mike Tyson. If I'm totally honest, he weren't in the greatest of health, and he done his job, and we saw, Jake.
But it is a fair argument, Spence. I know that what you're saying it has validity to it as well. But if you put Jake Paul in a ring with a bona fide all-time great, you're discrediting the sport. You're making it about something that's not competitive. This is just money. It's taking the mickey out of the fans, and it's giving Jake Paul some validity by association. That's what it's doing. And that's why people will say, come on now, that's taking boxing in the wrong direction.
So, I mean, you're right. It puts boxing into disrepute in many ways, if I'm totally honest, because like you say, it's sort of disrespecting the sport. Jake Paul and what he's doing and all this stuff with UFC fighters and ex-champions that are 60 plus. Great. There's a home for that. Jake Paul's fans will like that. That's a different era we're talking about, a different fan base that we're talking about. Canelo going in with Jake Paul. Where does Jake Paul earn the right to box Canelo?
Oh, exactly.
Let's have it right here.
Yeah.
We're talking about a modern day great, and we're talking about a current world champion. How does Jake Paul fit into that top 10 when you're talking about Adam Azim, who's like, a legitimate, great, world-class fighter who's not even in WBC top 10?
They believe this fight is unnecessary and that boxing doesn't need it. According to them, this fight is more about hype and entertainment than actual competitive boxing.
3 years ago when I was calling out Nate Diaz and all of these big names, Anderson Silva, all of these people, and they said, you don't have the right to call them out. And then I manifested it, got the skill in the gym, got to their level and above, and then beat them. It's literally just, I'm repeating the playbook now. I'm predicting what's going to happen 3 more years from now.
So 3 years.
I'm going to get to his skill level.
and beat him. And I have a weight advantage, a size advantage, a height advantage, a reach advantage. And he's super skilled. I just went 10 rounds. Me and Canelo can go 10 rounds. Like, come on.
You face off with Canelo today. What happens?
I would lose. But in 2 years, I have one of the greatest self-belief systems in the world. And I know what I'm capable of. And with this new team, the experience I'm getting in the ring under the lights, I believe in 2 years, I can give Canelo a serious fucking run for his money.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next time.